And I was like, you know what, this is magical. This is life-changing. I think this is what I want to do. That's how I started.
Got settled, so it finished, and you are on the way to the next session. So what would you do if you would have those 5 minutes?
So beautiful. We have the opportunity to do all those things.
So there is something around it. And then they look at it, the Japanese guys are really amazing from that perspective. I'm just like, oh my God, so much wisdom there.
Their powers. They weren't even aware that they can heal. They weren't aware that they can nurture so deep.
In fact, and I was just thinking, oh my God, I can relate to it so much in some sense. Hello, beautiful souls. So today we are welcoming here Joanne. I met her first time here just exactly onto this video, but I was fascinated by her content. She's such a lovely, beautiful soul. She has a really interesting content in her TikTok. And every time when I watched her videos, I was just drawn to her energy. And today I was thinking just to give you that special treat from Joanne, and so that she would just share with you all what she's currently doing, what she's starting. I'm pretty sure it could serve you well. So Joanne, could you please share with us what are your areas of study today, and where is your deep thinking going?
Yeah, so I specialize specifically in intuitive healing. So Reiki, if you guys know what that is, it's a modality for energy healing. And I also do spiritual guidance, intuitive guidance. So that includes oracle and tarot divinations. And it's just been something I feel very, very called to gravitate towards ever since a little kid. And the past couple of years, I've started to explore this whole new age and spirituality concept. And it's been an amazing journey. When I tell you, it's been so fascinating. Yeah.
Hmm. So you told that you are specializing into Reiki. And how did it all start from you? When it started, and why did you get there?
Yeah, for sure. So, well, what I really first realized was when I was with my grandma. She is a little sick, a little older, and one time I was at her place, and she said, I feel some pain in my legs, and I no medicine would cure it. I couldn't feel anything, and so I was like, you know what? And I just felt like a reason to heal her that way. And I didn't know what Reiki was, by the way, at this time. I just felt like it was a magical, almost like a supernatural pull that I needed to put my hands on her in that way. So, I just rested my hands there and I was like, how do you feel now after 10 minutes? And she was like, you know what? I actually feel a lot better. And I was shocked. I was a little confused at this. And so I started doing a little bit more digging into what actually happened because I was a little freaked out at first. And I discovered something called Reiki. And I was like, there's no way this is insane. I've never heard of this thing before. How can you heal something just by being near it or with your hands? And so, with where I live, there's a huge spiritual community not too far. And some like-minded people said, you know what, you should do your Reiki level 1. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. But then I went on a few solo trips and I did some thinking and I just felt so called and being the empath that I am, I took it and I was like, you know what, this is magical. This is life-changing. I think this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. That's how I started.
How long have you been practicing it?
Just a little bit. Oh, I think around 5 years and a little bit more. It's been like a journey. It started off so confusing. And so I started going more and more into it. And every single practice that I do with a different client, it's a new discovery each time. Really.
I'm really interested in Reiki actually because it's all about energy healing. But since childhood, like I was also drawn to that type of activity. I didn't know that Reiki actually exists. And I also discovered it later on. But the thing is, I have some kind of internal resistance towards that because I sometimes here and there I'm thinking, how can I cleanse myself out of, let's say, that interaction? Because probably like you are more experienced, maybe you could share your modalities here. most of my clients and most part of my audience, they here and there experience issues with, let's say, negative stuff around us. And whenever we go to any kind of interaction here, we tend to get so-called like those etheric cords, right? And I'm pretty sure you are aware of such stuff as a Reiki healer. So how do you make sure that whenever you go and interact with others, you kind of like heal, provide your service, and at the same time you stay clean?
Yes, that's actually a great question. And I get it so often. It's the thing about healing and the thing about empaths is we feel energies and we feel emotions so deeply and so easily compared to an average person or another person that may not feel the same way. But for me, I am a huge empath, and it's really easily for me to get affected by other people's emotions. And so, especially during Reiki, it is so important. Every Reiki teacher or practitioner will tell you, I would say, if not 100% of the part, you have to cleanse yourself. As a healer, it's so important to not absorb the energy on the client from the client that we're healing. And the whole point is to make sure that you use different, affirmations and prayers. And there's certain words and characters that we have to use to cleanse ourselves before, during, and after the session. So I always ensure I do that. And actually, just over the weekend, I had a client ask me the exact same question. And they're like, this is my second time healing with you. And you say you're so busy, but how do you make sure that after each healing, you don't carry that energy into the next person? And I said, you don't need to worry about that. I always cleanse myself, whether it's with crystals, prayers, or singing bowls, whatever it is. I don't carry the energy out.
Could you share with us some kind of a framework? Let's say, yes, this session got settled, so it finished, and you are on the way to the next session. So what would you do if you would have those 5 minutes?
Yeah, so if I finish with a client, like a Reiki client, and I have another session after, I always give myself at least an hour before I move on to the next client. And I say this because it takes, for me personally, it may be different for other healers or other practitioners, but for me, it takes me a little bit to breathe because when you do too much, it's draining. I'm sure you feel kind of the same way with tarot when you do readings and oracle readings and everything. It's draining because you're absorbing so much download, so much information, and it's like, it's almost tiring when you do it too much. And so I say prayers, I do my own meditations, I have my own process of going about cleaning and cleansing the energy. I love selenite. I'm a huge crystal collector. Selenite is my number one, if not one of my top 3 favorite stones, because it's so cleansing.
Do you use Lumerians?
Oh yes, I do. And clear quartz as well. I love clear quartz, and also fluorite. I love fluorite. Do you have a fluorite with you?
Oh no, it's in my room. It's in my working room. I really love having it on my working table. But in my meditations, I really love the Lumerians. So I really get connected to what you say. And you know what? Do you use Mystic Merlinite?
I do not. I have not worked with that specifically.
It's amazing. It's amazing for balancing your energy. And sometimes when we actually work with energy spots into our body, I really love this type of form. Like you can see it in here. So look, oops, I think I'm not showing it correctly, but probably you cannot see all the mystical stuff here. I'm not sure.
Is it black and purple?
It's having like lots of colors in here, but I'm not sure that you can see it properly through my cam. Because
no, I see it.
we are just after this, the solar eclipse here. So it's still getting lighter and lighter. But the thing is, like, if you type in Mystic Merlinite, I will leave the name in the comments after this session. So the truth is, it's super balancing, and I love it so much. I meditate a lot with it. If you are feeling sometimes in between heaven and earth, and you want that balancing energy, works tremendously well. So I just discovered it not so long ago, and I fell in love with it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for interrupting. I fell in love with you as well, with all your content. So it's just the subconscious thinking. I'm sorry for interrupting you here. Just continue talking.
Yeah, no, I actually wanted to ask. So you started working with that crystal not too long ago, right?
Yes, and I feel so much more stable because before it was like, these type of energies are coming through me. And then I just realized I need something for stability, like to feel like that trunk of a tree, and just because before it was such type of sensation of lots of pressure. I have to do so much, so much. And there is so much learnings, but at the same time, I get paralyzed from all these learnings, from all these information. So this type of crystal allows to release stuff. I love to use it in the sauna as well. Like when I go to the sauna, and I use saunas quite often, just whenever I feel pains in my bodies, and I can use it specifically with this, angle when it is getting sharp, because the energies are directed through sharpness of that crystal, like here, and then I can use and so-called acupuncture, right? Doing acupuncture with it. It's so amazing. So I will leave you the name of it. So I'm pretty sure you can benefit.
For sure. I'm always looking for grounding and stability crystals to use.
Yeah.
You're so right when you say that it can be so overwhelming. When you do a lot of like healing, any type of healing arts, right? And so that
Yes,
is
yes.
yeah.
The good thing about it, you don't need to cleanse it. It's a self-cleansing, although it's dark. Can you imagine? So when you get it, you don't need to cleanse it even.
That's next. So it's just like kind of like selenite.
Yeah, so it's really amazing. Not so long ago, I also received the raw selenite. I don't have it here, but from New Zealand, and I was just like fascinated by it. So do you have the raw version?
Yeah, I have this selenite stick, the huge one.
Mm.
It's like a magic wand, and it literally quite is like a magic wand. When I go like this and I feel it all over, it's
Mm.
absolutely love it.
So I see you are really deep into crystals. Do you have like some kind of crystal healing sessions?
Yeah, so the thing with crystals, I am a huge crystal collector. I started when I started doing, spirituality, getting into more of spirituality, I started off with crystals because they're gorgeous, they're really pretty. And you actually it's crazy how each crystal has its own healing properties, and you can really, really feel it. And so during my healings, for my Reiki healings, I do use crystals. It honestly does depend on the client though, and what they want to bring out of them. So, usually I would put a lapis lazuli on their forehead for the third eye, maybe something else, maybe citrine on the solar plexus, whatever it is. I like to coordinate, each chakra with the color of the crystals. But again, it all just depends on my client. Some clients just want it to be clean and no crystals, but for me personally, I always use it. Even when I do tarot readings or oracle readings, I like to meditate before, and I always use a fluorite or a pink tourmaline to just ground myself, balance myself, get the information in and ready to go. And I don't know, I think it's so beautiful, so useful in every way.
So you mentioned a few times the chakra healing. I'm really got interested in that. What is that chakra healing for you? How do you do that?
So the thing with chakra healing is it is similar to Reiki healing, but it is not quite. The thing with chakra is, everyone has chakras. I think that everyone's chakras are not always balanced at all times. And so, and it's interesting because you can sometimes tell. So for me, it's been my throat lately. My throat chakra has been kind of blocked, and that correlates with communication and being able to express myself in various ways, and just confidence as well. And so, chakra healing. I mean, have you ever done chakra healing before?
I didn't do chakra healing, but I can read through chakras. So I can read that disbalances happening in people. So yeah.
How would you do that?
I can see the disbalances. I can feel it. I need to see you personally. Let's say if I am here right now through the video, it's hard for me to see that.
Right.
But when I meet you personally, I can just sense where the disbalance is happening. When I'm staying, like you are staying here, I am staying here, I can sense it literally. But I need first to balance myself, to ground myself, like in between earth and heaven. And then when there is no me in the process, when I'm kind of like crystal clear at that moment, I can sense you and sense when something is not crystal clear on each and every level. So that's how I am doing it. But I'm not doing it professionally. I'm doing it just for family members, for friends who ask me for that.
Yeah. And do you do healing with that as well, or no? Do you do chakra healing?
Only from the permission of the person. Not everyone is ready. You know what I came to in this universe, like there are so many gifts which we as women especially can propose to this world. But there is a real issue with receivership. Like, did you notice that many times we are going through the world and like not many are actually ready to receive those gifts? So we have to adjust along the way. I don't know what is your experience with that, but that's what I realized here.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting that you say that because you're so right. You hit it around the nose. Not every single human being is ready to receive those gifts that they're put on this earth to, do and to utilize. And I think that for me, and I think for majority of people, actually, it all starts with a very, not very, but like almost like a traumatic experience. It starts with something that really, sticks with you for the rest of your life. Maybe it goes through a really hard breakup or a relationship, something happened in your childhood that awakens you. I think that triggers someone's healing and that triggers someone's ability to be like, okay, maybe I have another purpose and maybe I can use this trauma or use these things that happened in my life to project it into the rest of the world in a positive way. And that's
yeah, I can relate to that so much. I know one beautiful art in Japan. I don't remember the name of it. Maybe I remember when they break the vase to pieces and then the vase like is glued like back. And there is a specific name for that type of artistry. And then they make these bars much more precious than the unbroken bars. So there is something around it. And then they look at it, the Japanese guys are really amazing from that perspective. I'm just like, oh my God, so much wisdom there. So each and every breakage point is like a certain history, a certain golden line, golden lineage, which can bring so much healing to the world, who just observes these bars. So what you told right now, it just brought me that perspective, like that connection in between these artistry and what you say. Unfortunately, I cannot really remember the name of that. Yeah, I think this can serve as an inspiration for many probably listening to us here, because all of us have those childhood traumas. All of us probably came through something. And even those fortunate ones who came from happy families, we are all like beaten through this world, like here and there. And then we have to have that strength and courage to save our hearts and to still love this world, right?
Yeah, and you know what? That reminds me of a very, very beautiful quote. I think you'll actually really like. And it's some I can't recite it word for word, but it's something along the lines of, scream so loud and have the voice so that thousands of years later, your sisters won't wonder what went wrong. So let me explain. So it's like, I think that in 2024, we're reaching it's a new world. I feel like we're entering a new age of humanity and a lot of people are awakening. I can talk for hours about that, but
I feel it as well. Just
yeah.
like I truly relate to that. I think all of us who are listening to this episode right now, they all can relate to that.
You know what I mean? And so, especially for women, as we in the history when we've been so oppressed and repressed, and everything has been so submerged down a layer of history and politics and social things, and so now, fortunately, with this new age, we're able to finally express, finally voice our opinions, finally scream, finally be able to say what we want to say and feel what we want to feel, and kind of tune in into our natural nurturing side as women, to be mothers, to heal, to really do what we're supposed to do. And I think that's so beautiful. We have the opportunity now to do all those things, whereas before it wasn't even aware. Like, I feel like a lot of women weren't aware of their powers. They weren't even aware that they can heal. They weren't aware that they can nurture so deep. And this is also something that I've discovered within myself, is like, I never knew I was this nurturing as a woman. I was also very negative back in the day. I had a lot of anger, a lot of repressed trauma that I just never expressed. And as soon as I started exploring myself in every way, it's so sensual. It's just to say, you know what, I love myself. I love myself as a woman. Being able to heal, it's an absolute gift. And yeah, I just
Oh, thank you so much for that openness. But by the way, what you told right now, it intrigued me. I was thinking, how did your whole spiritual seeking journey for that internal inner voice even started? Like, how did it all start? Because I'm pretty sure you had a long journey. And as we all are, we start from all these judgmental attitudes, probably being beaten by life. But somehow I see in front of me this light being emanating this light, spreading it through its channel, and just doing some beautiful work here. So could you please walk us through that journey?
Yeah, no, like thanks so much. That actually means so much to hear that. I love hearing that. It makes me so happy. Well, for me, I think what I can recall is obviously there's a lot of childhood trauma that I've experienced. So does everybody. But I think the real eye-opening point was a relationship that I got out of maybe 6 years ago, 6, 7, 8, maybe even 8 years ago. And it wasn't a bad relationship. It was like a first love, first loves, and it's as a teenager, it's so, it's so heartbreaking. Oh no, my life is falling apart. The world is over. And that's what I thought back then. It was so hard. I was so heartbroken as a little girl. And so getting out of that, I was like, okay, why did this happen? I started victim blaming. I started blaming them. I started projecting all these problems onto everybody else except for myself. I thought I was perfect. I really did. And I thought I was God. And I was like, you know what? This never worked out because they're the problem. I'm never the problem. And so I started sitting down behind closed doors by myself and I thought, you know what, maybe I am the problem. Maybe these things are happening because I'm allowing them to happen. Maybe I just didn't put up boundaries. Maybe I'm not healed. Maybe I'm just too negative. Maybe I'm sheltering myself. And that's when it really started, this whole spirituality thing for me and my lifestyle. It's about taking accountability. And
so there was this question, right? Question like, maybe I am here responsible, right? Maybe I am here responsible for all what's happening to me. And that was the beginning of that self-digging story, right?
Yes, exactly. It's about saying maybe I'm responsible for the failures that happen in my life. I'm responsible.
Responsibility.
Yeah, responsibility and taking accountability, because we can always be like, oh, the weather's bad. Oh, this is bad. This is bad. There's a million reasons to not do something. Period. But it's about finding yourself and taking accountability to be like, okay, I am able to make this change. I can make this change. And so that's what happened. And everything turned 180. And every single month, every single year since that day, I learned something new every day. I look back at myself 6 months ago. I can't recognize the woman. I really can't. And the knowledge that I observe, even by having this conversation with you, ultimately changes the path after I leave. And so I think that's so beautiful. And I'm showing so much gratitude for all the wisdom and knowledge that I've obtained over the years and still yet to come.
Yeah, I can fully relate to that. But I still want to dig a bit deeper into that responsibility. So there was this responsibility like lightening inside you, and just like being a responsibility. I am responsible for everything. So did you feel at that moment like you can change the situation, right? Immediately when responsibility comes into our life, we kind of like empowered, in fact. So what was next after that? Now Joanne is responsible. So what did you do next?
So after realizing that, okay, Joanne is ultimately responsible for every single thing that's about to happen in her life, I've come to realize, okay, I'm driving. My hands are on the wheel. It's my turn to take a left turn, take a right turn, reverse, or keep going forward. I had these options in front of me. So me realizing that is like saying, I can make anything happen. Anything that I want in life is literally possible because I'm in control. I'm driving the car. And so I think that the very first step and the hardest step actually is realizing, for anyone going through any type of spiritual awakening, it is realizing that you have the power and you have the ability. And so once I realized that, you take the proactive actions to move forward and do whatever you need to do to achieve your goals, to achieve the life that you really, really yearn for. And I always say, I've experienced amazing things in my life, things that I never thought was possible, but it was possible because I just believed it. It's possible because I wanted it and I got it. You know what I mean?
So this responsibility code is, in fact, the code of the card, the Emperor in the tarot world, because once we grow with our consciousness to that responsibility, we can start gaining access to the higher Hierophant. So Emperor stays before the Hierophant card, and Hierophant, it's that higher knowledge which comes through ours. It's a very structured knowledge. So it seems like it was naturally coming to you. What I observe with many women here whom I get into that connection, who have access to that really higher structured knowledge, no matter of their age, by the way, I realized that they somehow have that encrypted code of self-responsibility within them, which like moves them naturally to connection to that higher knowledge. So like we cannot get access to that hierophant, like high priest knowledge, like structured knowledge of this universe, sacred geometry, right? And all the alchemy of this creation. We cannot really get access to it until we establish in ours that type of self-responsibility. It's like we become the son of all our creation, right? So, and I'm so happy I met you because you can confirm it. You are a living representation of it. It's so beautiful.
And I actually love that because well, a long time ago, I posted a video saying you don't need to do drugs to reach higher realms of consciousness. So an analogy that I love to use is, there are all these files. It's like a computer, right? There are all these locked files. The files, inside those files is like ultimate knowledge, sacred wisdom, and all these things that we don't even know yet. And the only way to unlock those files is taking accountability, taking responsibility, and unlocking versions of yourself that are meant to be unlocked. And so once you're able to do that, all those files start unlocking. You know the password, you can get into the files, all these downloads start coming in. It just makes sense.
True. It's so true.
Yeah.
Yes, because actually you told the story about your first love, and I had pretty much the same story. So I think we are all blessed here with some bastard, So whenever we come through our first relationships of the first love, and I remember how I went out of those relationships, and that guy, he just didn't treat me well, because I didn't treat myself well.
Exactly.
I didn't love myself. So he was my pure reflection, like a self-mirror effect. I didn't realize that at that moment, but there was the moment I said, enough.
Yeah.
That's enough. I cannot be treated that way anymore. Never, ever again. And since that moment, I don't know how, but it's just like all the guys who were in my reality, so-called, who were around me, like even my brother, even my father were so, like in such a way, they were irresponsible, and I saw and I observed them. I just like cut the relationships for some while, even with my father and brother, because I was thinking they represent that type of guys, just guy needs some rest. I need some from that type of consciousness, Of course, we reconnected later on, but honestly, like only after that, I met my husband with whom I'm happily living today for 10 years. And it's just like, I think that shift was in me. Now he's treating me like a vase. He's bringing me like those flowers, attention, which I was kind of scraping from the first guy.
Yes.
Like, it's really crazy. And now, like I'm thinking, I saw so many women actually who get stuck into the image of their first guys and they whine and everything. But the thing is, the way out is so easy. We just need to jump out of it and say never, ever again.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yes.
I mean, I think every day in my, emails and then my DMs, I receive so many messages, particularly from women. And a lot of them are about relationships. It's about trying to move forward. And I'm stuck on my ex, I'm stuck on this. Like, how do I help me, please? And I always, I always say, you just gotta put up a boundary for yourself and say that you are deserving of something so much more magnificent that you can't comprehend yet. Like every.
Oh, yeah, this is like, I actually, not so long ago, I read this beautiful book, The Power Code. It's so amazing. Like, it's written by Kitty Kay and Claire Shipman. So I really love this book. Why? Because they say there that it's just written for women specifically. And they say there that, girls, you kind of like get stuck in your careers and in your whole thing here, just your potential expression, not because even of have like all your past beliefs or something because of your husbands and your boyfriends around you, just like whom we try to please, in fact. And I was just thinking, oh my God, I can relate to it so much in some sense. Because for us, it's relationships still very important. Imagine yourself, Joanne. I want to ask you a question.
Mhm.
Let's say you are 80 years old. You are a successful businesswoman. You're just like earned like $100 million, maybe $1 billion. I don't know. Just like you are really successful in your understanding and the earnings. But you don't have family. You don't have children. You don't have husband. You just have no one. And you are not respected by the street members in your community. Will you be happy?
No.
Now, I will ask the same question to a guy, and something tells me they will be fine.
Isn't it so fascinating? Why
Yeah.
is that, do you think?
I think we are wired that way, like genetically for thousands of years, because we were sitting really at home. Our nest, our community was the way for our survival in some sense. And we kind of understand that community is important. Relationships are important. While guys, they were hunting. Like their way of success is to hunt a buffalo.
Yeah. Yeah. No, literally, like ever since history, it's so primitive too, the way that our brains are genetically wired to think this.
Yeah. So I just like, my husband and I, we just visit sometimes like those business circles, and I'm surrounded by those guys. I don't see that, honestly, that they put that priority, really tremendous priority, onto like the relationships. I see many really like good guys, but the main thing for them is still hunting the buffalo.
Yeah.
And then I just like, I was thinking, 80 years. Like if we take the woman and man and we put that question, I think, just they will still be fine. So I just was contemplating a lot about it. And you just you replied also the same way,
Yeah. It's, it's interesting. I've been actually thinking about this topic a lot more recently too. And I don't know why I've been thinking about this, maybe because maybe I'm around more male around this time, males, and more like, male friendships and just seeing men and observing men and how they operate, especially in this new age. And it's all about, climbing to the roof, climbing to the top, hunting the buffalo, making the money, being really, really successful. And don't get me wrong, all those things are amazing. Even as a woman, I want to be successful. I want to have a billion, bazillion dollars. Who doesn't? But at the end of the day, I think that genetically men are wired to think very differently from women, and that's okay. But at the same time, I think it's almost like a trauma response too. I feel like their emotions have been so suppressed for decades, millions of years ago. So then now when we go up to a man and say, hey, how was your day? You don't get a response. You get good. It was all right. It was cool. Whereas if you go to a woman and you ask, hey babe, how was your day? You get, oh, I went to the grocery store. I saw this and this, and this person said this to me.
Yes.
The responses are so much more different. And you think, why is it like that? I feel like men have just been not having a voice. They're used to not having a voice. And so when you finally meet a man that doesn't have a voice and you say, okay, tell me more. And you say, tell me more. I want to hear more about it. They're shocked. They're like, what do you mean you want to hear more?
I think I learned it from my husband. I think honestly, they just love to hang out together with each other. It took me a while to understand these patterns of communication between me and my husband. He's responding exactly how you are describing. He's not going too much into details because probably like we are wired to establish those communities. That's why it just is that way. While when they were hunting, why would they communicate too much? It was the language of signals, language of signals. And the less you actually communicate with your language, the better. That's what I was thinking.
And it's so interesting to observe that, because when you hear conversations between women versus between men, right? It's so different. It's women go so deep in text and they get so excited and and the men are just like, okay, cool, yeah, all right, yeah. The contrast is so interesting. So I don't know. I think it's beautiful in a way. I think it's something I study it a lot. I observe these interactions a lot. It's great.
Yeah. I feel like we are like two empresses right now who are creating that beautiful fertility environment, abundance environment. So I was just like thinking how important it is to commune, just to have that community. Whenever we feel a bit depleted in energy, it's so important to unite with other women. Like we have this conversation right now with you. And if we come back to the tarot world with you right now, it's just showing all these patterns. Like, do you remember this card, the Empress? She's sitting down there, like feeling like the Empress of the world, so relaxed. And when I talk to you, I am so relaxed. Do you think I really got prepared for all this? It's just flowing, you know? And I see that you also didn't. And it's so spontaneous, flowing. And I feel like everyone around us just really feel the same type of energy. You cannot really fake it. So it's just also amazing. By the way, I saw that you are an intuitive tarot reader, and I wanted to get your perspective. In fact, what does it mean, intuitive tarot reading, and why initially you use tarot?
So, intuitive tarot reading, the thing with me when I do tarot, or tarot specifically, but sometimes oracle, is every information and every download that I get is from source. So, source, we can tell it's either ourselves or something high above or something called God, whatever we believe in, it is source. But at the same time, that information already exists within us. So, what I think that tarot cards are a beautiful tool to utilize when it comes to wanting to know what steps to take next and how I feel about a certain situation or a query that I may need extra guidance on. So when it comes to tarot readings for myself or other people, I know nothing about the client that I'm looking for, absolutely nothing. I just feel the energy, and based off the energy that I feel in the room within us and whatever tension it is, the downloads that I receive are completely out of the blue. It's almost like if I'm doing a reading for someone and I feel like, the color blue is coming through. Okay, maybe this client's experienced some sort of sadness or some sort of expression problem, whatever it is. I don't know why blue comes to me. It just does. And that's what I mean when I say it is a gift. It is like a gift. And when they say humans have five senses, we do have five senses, but what if we have six? What if we have seven? What if we have eight sense? And the eighth sense can be being able to communicate with higher realms, being able to unlock that higher consciousness. And this is what I mean when I say higher consciousness. It's all these information that we would not regularly get. And I think that tarot helps me unlock that information.
Beautiful, beautiful. It's really resonating to what I am doing and what I am teaching my clients as well, my beautiful souls. So it's just like, hey girls, just meet Joanne. She's doing the same type of work. So, and probably I'm thinking that she can unite it with some chakra healing and Reiki healing. So check out her profile. I will leave the links below with comments. Now, before like leaving this beautiful conversation, I wanted to ask you, Joanne, the last question. I'm really interested. Let's say we are meeting with you 3 years from now. Okay. So today is point B. 3 years from now, today point A. 3 years from now, point B. So what needs to happen in this A-B period so that Joanne will feel happy, progressed in her personal life and in her career?
I think for me personally, let's say to get to point B, I think what needs to happen or what I want to happen in order for me to be like, I'm so proud of you and look back and have that sense of gratitude is acceptance. Acceptance for who I am, truly. Acceptance for the things that happened to me and acceptance for the environment that I am in presently, in the past, future, and after. I think that I just need to accept, because I am such a, for the lack of a better word, a doubtful person. I'm always really anxious about what's about to happen next. I'm anxious about things that already happened, things that are beyond my control. So being able to accept the situations that are handed to me and the cards that are dealt for me, I think that's the next step for me in order to elevate this new version of myself. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful answer. Thank you so much, Joanne. It was such a pleasure to have you here. I'm wishing you a really, really beautiful, amazing experience in this AB period. Thank you.